Good morning, family, and happy Thanksgiving. Hello, family. Welcome back. If you're new here, welcome. I am Vicki, and you're with Gravy in the Kitchen. So today is going to be my Thanksgiving dinner, and we are doing the Lidl's Shop for Thanksgiving, feeding 10 people for under $36. We got the turkeys for 25 cents a pound, plus I went ahead and got everything on their list. And I did go back and get the rest of the sweet potatoes we need for the sweet potato casserole. But first, we need to make the pumpkin pie. So I bought their requested item for the pie crust. I took one out of the box this morning, had it sitting here on the counter. Now we're going to go ahead and make the pumpkin pie. So the list came with the pie crust, the canned pumpkin, and the evaporated milk. We need to add pumpkin pie spice, eggs, and sugar, and that is it from what we need from our pantry. Let's go ahead and get this started so we can get it in the oven. It needs to bake at 425 degrees for 15 minutes. We have to reduce the temperature down to 350 and cook it for another 40 to 50 minutes. So I have a 9-inch pie plate and their pie crust. But I do want to roll it out just a bit so it fits my pie plate better. This is not a necessary step, but it is something I think is needed. And now we're going to put this in the pie plate. I'm going to put this in the refrigerator until we're ready to fill it with the pie filling. So I have the canned pumpkin in the bowl, 1 can of evaporated milk, 3/4 cups of sugar, half a teaspoon of salt, 1, 2, and 1/4 teaspoon of pumpkin pie spice, 1, 2 eggs. And I'm just going to use the hand beater, mix it up really well. So we have our pie filling from the refrigerator. And put it on a baking sheet pizza pan lined with parchment paper. And we're going to put this in a 425 degree oven for 15 minutes, reduce the temperature to 350 degrees, and cook it for an additional 40 to 50 minutes. In goes the pumpkin pie. I'm going to go ahead and get the turkey out of the refrigerator so we can get started on mixing up that herb blend and get that seasoned. So in this pot, I have about 1/4 of water, the neck and all of the innards of the turkey. I'm going to add a couple bay leaves, a couple whole peppercorns, and about a teaspoon of salt. This is a 1/2 teaspoon measure. This is going to go on the stove. And I'm going to bring that to a boil and let it boil for about an hour or 2 hours, longer if I can. That's going to be the base of our broth that we're going to need for the stuffing. I'm not using their box stuffing. It's just not my favorite. I'm actually going to be making a homemade stuffing, but it is included in the price of the feed tin under $36. We need to make our seasoned blend for the turkey. So in this bowl, I'm going to add about 1/4 cup of butter. I'm going to add a teaspoon of salt, 1/4 teaspoon of pepper. This is the poultry seasoning they had you to buy, a part of that list. I am going to add 1 teaspoon of poultry seasoning and about a tablespoon of olive oil. I'm going to get that mixed in. Perfect. So this is our turkey. Let me get a cutting board. This turkey actually comes with one of those pop-up thermometers. I don't rely on those. I'm just going to go ahead and remove that. And then it has this plastic piece that holds the legs together. I don't like that. Sometimes they're easy to get out. Hold on 1 second. I just reduced the temperature to the oven to 350 degrees. Now I got the time set for 40 minutes. We'll check on that pumpkin pie after that, see if it needs to be extended all the way to the 50 minutes. Back to the turkey. So it has this plastic piece that holds the legs together. I don't like using that because it prohibits the legs to get cooked properly. So I am going to remove it if I can. Sometimes they're easy to come out, sometimes they're not. And this one does not want to be easy. Okay, I got that out. All right, so I'm going to dry him off a bit. Now I want to go underneath the skin, between the meat and the skin. Put my fingers in there, try to just separate the skin from the meat because I want to get the herb blend underneath the skin. And I want to go down the drumstick, trying to get my fingers down in there without breaking the skin too much. Okay, I did rip the skin, but that is okay. That is to be expected. All right, so we're going to take some of our spice blend, put it underneath that skin, and we want to go get on the legs also. Just massage it underneath that skin, trying to get it as far down as we could possibly get it. All right, so we got the inside seasoned. Now we're just going to rub the outside. I like the flavor of the oil and the butter. It just gives it just a distinct fat flavor. Make sure we get around those legs and the wings, on the wings, outside the wings. Now, if you could do this a day before, that would be even better. And you can just leave it in the refrigerator, uncovered, for at least 24 hours until you're ready to cook it. It's actually going to help your skin dry out a bit and become nice and crispy. All right, perfect. I'm going to tuck in the wingtips underneath the back. There we go. And the other side takes a little bit of maneuvering. All right, come on, turkey, play with me. All right, there we go. All right, perfect. All right, I want to put this in this baking dish. Let me clean up a bit. I might have to get a different baking pan for him, but until we're ready to bake this, which is going to be about 2 to 3 more hours, I'm just going to keep it in the refrigerator uncovered, let the air circulate around it that's inside the refrigerator, and it'll help dry the skin out and it'll turn beautifully brown. You can do this step up to 24 hours in advance. We've been in the kitchen for 45 minutes and we've got the pumpkin pie in the oven. We got our neck bone and the innards of our turkey with some aromatics on the stove with some water. We're going to make a broth and we've got our turkey prepped to go into the oven. Once that pumpkin pie comes out of the oven, we're going to go ahead and start cooking the sweet potatoes for the sweet potato casserole. And I do like doing dishes in between tasks. That way I can stay on top of those dishes and we don't have a lot of dishes before we sit down and eat dinner. I'm going to keep a running list of the things we have to have in our kitchen, in our pantry, the staples we're going to need for this Thanksgiving dinner, in addition to the stuff we had to buy. In the description below, I will have every recipe, and then I'll let you know everything we needed from our pantry to add to this, such as salt, pepper, butter, eggs, or anything of that nature for each one of the dishes. But while we've got some downtime, we got 20 minutes left of the 40 minutes for the pumpkin pie. I have the neck and the innards cooking on the stove to make a broth. Decided I want to go ahead and get started on a honey butter compound for our dinner rolls. So I have some honey and some room temperature butter. I'm only going to do about a stick of butter, which is about 4 ounces. That will be plenty. And I'm going to add about a teaspoon of honey. And I'm just going to mix that together. This is salted butter. If you were using unsalted butter, just add a little salt to it, just a small pinch. This is going to be new this year. I'm just going to add just a small little pinch of cinnamon. So we had honey and cinnamon. All right, that looks good. Let me clean up a bit. I have a piece of parchment paper. I want to shape it somewhat like a log. And I'm just going to put this in the refrigerator, let it firm up. And when it's time to eat dinner, we'll have a nice, delicious honey cinnamon butter compound. And that's going to be for the rolls we bought from Lidl's. Okay, so we have 15 minutes left on the pumpkin pie. Turkey is still in the refrigerator. And we've got our broth going. It's not too bad. And we're only in 1 hour. The pumpkin pie has been in the oven for the 40 minutes. It was not ready. I extended it for another 10 minutes for a total of 50 minutes. I think it can go for another 10 minutes. The center's not quite ready. I'm going to extend it for another 10 minutes. Let's go ahead and get our potatoes ready. So I washed them under some cold water. I had it just sitting on this paper towel just to absorb some of that water off. I'm just going to take a knife and just pierce it just a bit. Trying to get a total of 8 little piercings all the way around. And this actually came up to be a total of 3.81 pounds. So it's 0.81 over their recommendation. But that's okay. We're still under the $36. So the sweet potatoes came up to be $2.67. That brings our total cost up to $33.81. Perfect. Now, as soon as that pumpkin pie comes out of the oven, I'm going to raise the temperature back to 375. And then we're going to put in our sweet potatoes and we're going to let those cook for about an hour because I want them to be cooked and cooled before we start assembling that sweet potato casserole. So we are 1 hour and 26 minutes into this Thanksgiving dinner. We almost got the pie ready. We got our broth still cooking on the stove. We have our turkey in the refrigerator already seasoned or ready to go into that oven. And we're getting ready to put in our sweet potatoes. It is now 9:00 a.m. The pumpkin pie came out of the oven. We had it in a 425 degree oven for 15 minutes, reduced the temperature to 350 degrees, and we cooked ours for a total of 60 minutes. I have the sweet potatoes in the oven so they can cool off and we can go ahead and start making our sweet potatoes. They've been in the oven for about 30 minutes. I went in the freezer and I grabbed about a cup of celery and I have about a cup of diced carrots. Now I'm going to go ahead and cut this onion. This is one of the onions that we bought when we got everything else on the Lidl's list. I don't think I need a whole onion. I think I'm only going to do half. I'll put that in the freezer in a bit after I dice it up. Now I want to dice these super small. That's about a cup of onions. Whew, that's why I really love having diced onions in the freezer. Get it all, the crying out of the way all at once. Okay, perfect. Here is our neck and innards broth. I'm just going to go ahead and remove all the bits out of here, throw that in the trash. Just going to strain it right into this bowl. All right, let me go wash this pot. I'm going to dump this back into this pot. Celery, the onions, the broth, as well as the carrots. And I'm going to put this on the stove with a lid that's tilted so it has a vent spot. Medium, low heat. Let that cook until those vegetables are soft. We're actually at another downtime, so I have 21 minutes left on those potatoes. I'm going to go ahead and get some dishes washed. You could use the baby carrots that they asked you to buy in their menu plan. For the stuffing, just dice them up really small, but I want to make a side dish with this, so that's why I'm using my own home diced up frozen carrots. As for the celery, I forgot we bought celery on the list. So we really didn't have to use our celery. We could have just diced this up and used it. But that's okay. I'll just dice it up, put it in the freezer for future use. I do enjoy having frozen diced carrots, celery, and onions, and minced garlic, so that I don't have to do those things each and every time I need to make dinner. Especially a Thanksgiving dinner or a holiday dinner. That prep is already done, waiting for us in the freezer. So if you don't have already diced carrots, you can use the baby carrots they suggested to buy. You can always use the celery in their list also. So I'll take care of this later on, put it in the freezer, and this is a side dish. So we are 2.5 hours in this dinner. What have we done? We've made our pumpkin pie. We have our turkey seasoned in the refrigerator. We have the potatoes in the oven cooking. We have 11 minutes left. And we have the vegetables, the celery, the carrots, and the onions, and that homemade broth we use from the neck and the innards simmering on the stove so they can soften for the stuffing. We still need to cook the turkey. That's going to take about 3 to 4 hours. We want to make sure that turkey breast is at 165 degrees. The thighs are going to be 175 degrees. We need to assemble the stuffing, the sweet potato casserole, the green bean casserole, and we need to make the glazed carrots and the macaroni and cheese. And I'm not making homemade macaroni. I actually got store-bought macaroni just to make our life a little easier. So I'll bring you back when we're ready to move on to the next step. It's going to be putting that turkey in the oven, which is probably going to be about an hour to an hour and a half. So we have some downtime. So enjoy a cup of coffee and we'll move on. Well, the time right now is 11:30. We're going to go ahead and put our turkey in the oven. It's been sitting in the refrigerator for the last couple hours. Every website I went to said we need to cook this for 13 to 15 minutes per pound. Our turkey is 13.76 pounds, so we're just going to say 14 pounds. And it says between 12 and 14 pounds is 3 to 3 3/4 of an hour. 14 to 18 pounds is 3 3/4 to 4 1/4. So we're going to shoot somewhere between the 3 3/4 of an hour to 4 hours. But I do need to add just a little bit of water, just enough to cover the bottom of this roasting pan. Perfect. I do want to make a tent out of aluminum foil. So we're kind of making a little airplane. I just want to cover the breast. So the breast will cook a little slower. And then about the last hour, we'll take the aluminum foil off. And then we'll let it finish cooking. So in the oven, I'm going to set the timer for 3 hours. Then we'll take the aluminum foil off. We'll cook it for the last hour. We need to check the temperature of both the white meat and the dark meat. So right in this pot, I have that broth we made together with the onions, carrots, and celery. This is for the stuffing. Over here, I have the potatoes that are cooked on this countertop, just cooling off with a sweet potato casserole. But now I need to go ahead and get the white potatoes ready to make mashed potatoes. I'm just going to go ahead and peel them now, put them in some water, and we'll wait till it's time to cook them closer to the meal time. So we're 4.5 hours into this dinner, and we have our pumpkin pie made. We have our sweet potatoes cooked. We seasoned the turkey, had it sitting in the refrigerator. Now that's in the oven. We made a broth using the neck and all the innards. Strained that through a fine mesh strainer, added the onions, carrots, and celery, and we had that cooking for about 45 minutes to an hour. Now that is ready. Let's start working on those mashed potatoes. I have a pot of water. This is the pot we're going to cook the potatoes in. It's not the water we're going to use. We'll strain that water out, add fresh cold water, and then we'll cook the potatoes. So this was a 5-pound bag of russet potatoes. I did use a couple of these for some baked potatoes earlier this week. I knew we weren't going to be using all these anyway for mashed potatoes. I think 4 potatoes would be enough. I'm trying to weigh them so I could tell you how many potatoes you need. So we got about 2.5 pounds of potatoes. Are you a pro potato peeler or are you pro paring knife peeler? I like the potato peeler. It helps get just the peeling off and not losing a lot of potatoes. And when you're making mashed potatoes, you want to dice your potatoes as even as possible so they cook at the same rate and you won't have any hard potatoes and soft potatoes. So I'm making mine about 1/2 inch cubes. Just putting it right here in this pot of water. And storing your potatoes in cold water, it will keep the potatoes from oxidizing and turning brown until you're ready to cook them. I'm just going to place them on the stove just to get them out of my way. So we don't need to start assembling our stuffing, green bean casserole, and our sweet potato casserole until about 2 o'clock. And we're going to throw those in the oven around 3 o'clock in order to have dinner at 4 o'clock. Macaroni and cheese, I'm going to start about 3 o'clock, cooking the macaroni, making the cheese sauce. The potatoes I'm going to start cooking about 3:15, just so they'll have enough time to cook, still be hot while we use the hand mixer to make creamy mashed potatoes. Gravy, I'm going to wait to the very, very last minute, just before we sit down and have dinner. And the dinner rolls, I'm just going to put in the oven and just warm them up. As for the carrots, they need to cook. I do have a recipe for that. They need to cook in the oven for a total of about 30 minutes. So I might start that about 3:30. So now we're at a standstill again. And the time is 11:43. So we still have about 2 hours before we need to do anything else. The turkey is going to take till about 3:30. That's cutting it close, I say. But we can do this. We got it. It's okay. We're 2 hours from sitting down to have dinner, or the planned time to have dinner. The turkey still has 39 minutes left before we take that aluminum foil off. But at our 2 hour mark, we're going to go ahead and prepare our sides. The first sides we're going to make is the sweet potato casserole. So I'm just going to peel these cooked potatoes. They're completely cooled off. We had these in the oven for 1 hour, 350 degrees. Had them sitting on the counter since they came out of the oven, so we can peel them and cut them without burning our hands. This can also be done the day before, just once they cool off. Stick them in the refrigerator, and then the next day they're ready to go. Okay, let me throw all this in the trash, clean up a bit, and I'll be right back. So I do want to cut them into smaller fork-sized pieces. Perfect. So we have some brown sugar. I don't usually measure this, so it's going to be kind of hard. But I'm assuming each one of these spoons is about 1/4 cup. So anywhere between 3/4 and 1 cup of brown sugar. This is a 1 teaspoon measure of cinnamon. Some maple syrup. Maybe 1/2 cup. That sounds about right. Small little pinch of salt. Get everything stirred up in here. So simple. And then I want to add about a stick of butter. Cut it up into little cubes, maybe like a 1/2 inch cube. And we're just going to dollop the butter right on top. All right, that's one side dish done. I'm going to cover that with aluminum foil. I'm going to set that aside. And now we're going to work on the stuffing or the dressing, depending on where you are in the United States. Now on the Lidl shopping list, it had us buying this box of their brand of like stovetop stuffing. I am not using this, family. It's a good alternative, but we always have the ingredients to make it ourselves. Make it homemade. So I have 2.5 pounds of dried homemade sourdough bread cubes. I make the bread, I chop it up into cubes, I put it in a 200-degree oven, laid flat on a very large baking sheet, and I'll let it cook for hours. Every 30 minutes, I'll go in there and give it a good toss, making sure that it's drying out evenly. Once it's completely dry, I'll let it cool off to room temperature, and I store it into Ziploc bags. So we have homemade sourdough bread cubes. And we have our cooked onions, carrots, and celery in a homemade turkey broth that we use the neck and the innards. I'm going to pour that in here. I'm going to add a good pinch of salt. My bread cubes are unseasoned. A little bit of pepper. I'm using their Poultry Seasoning. We'll start off with 1/2 teaspoon. And this is some homegrown dried sage that we did ourselves. I have videos on that. I'm going to put a good 1/4 cup in here. I'm going to start giving this a little toss. I already know I'm going to need more liquid in here. We're using their chicken broth. I always smell it because I have gotten this where the seal was broken and it went bad. So I always smell these cartons before I start using it. Maybe I got a third of this quart. It's going to take a lot of liquid to hydrate these dry breadcrumbs, but that's okay. Nothing in this bowl is raw, so it is safe for us to taste it for seasoning. So I'm just going to grab a small piece of bread. I need salt, a little bit more pepper, and another half teaspoon of the poultry seasoning, so that's 1 teaspoon. And a pinch of the sage. I'm gonna add a little bit more of this broth. I probably have half of this quart in here right now. All right, let's taste another piece. Perfect. I have another casserole dish. I want to give it a good smear of olive oil. I have a paper towel. Just move that around. Make sure we get the side walls and any corners. Perfect. We're going to go ahead and dump the dressing, stuffing in this casserole dish. And of course, Grammy's making a mess. It already smells like Thanksgiving in here, family. Between the turkey in the oven, this dressing with all the sage and poultry seasoning. Oh, yummy. Okay, perfect. And another piece of aluminum foil. All right, now I'm going to set this aside. So the shopping list said 1 thing of green beans. I am adding 2 more for a total of 3. I've made this with frozen green beans, fresh green beans, and canned green beans. There is no difference, family. Whatever you have on hand, whatever you have to buy at the cheapest rate will be fine. I'm going to drain the liquid into this bowl because we need some of it, we don't need all of it. And here's our cream of mushroom soup. This was also on the shopping list. I'm going to put that into a clean bowl. I'm going to add about a half a cup of this bean juice. You can use milk if you like, but we already have the bean juice. Let's just use it. I'm going to whisk that to get rid of any lumps. Perfect. Put in our canned green beans that are drained. I'm going to give that a toss. I do want to add just a little bit of pepper, a little bit of salt, and this is some fried onions, also on the shopping list. I'm going to add about a third in the mixture. Let's stir that in. I want to taste it for seasoning. Use a little bit of salt and a little bit more pepper. We're done with the bean juice. We have another casserole dish. I'm going to add a little bit of olive oil. Give that a little swish. Add green bean casserole. Cover it with aluminum foil. As for the rest of the crispy onions, we're going to cook this casserole for about 30 minutes covered. Then we're going to uncover it, add the remainder of the onions, and continue to cook it for about another 15 minutes. So this is about 45 minutes. Sweet potatoes is going to be a little bit over an hour. The stuffing is going to be a little bit over an hour. So everything's about right around an hour. We have one more side dish to prepare, and that's our glazed carrots. So in this bowl, I'm going to add 1/8 of a cup or 2 tablespoons of brown sugar, a 1/2 clove of garlic, or a very small clove of garlic that's been minced, 1 tablespoon of butter, a 1/2 teaspoon of olive oil, a pinch of salt, and a very small pinch of pepper. We'll mix that in here really well. And then we have our baby carrots. And I want to toss it, make sure everything is well coated. I have the small baking sheet lined with parchment paper. We want them into a single layer, so I'm just spreading them out a bit. So we have our carrots, green bean casserole, stuffing, and our sweet potato casserole. The majority of our sides are together. We just need to cook them in the oven. We still need to cook the potatoes for the mashed potatoes, make the macaroni and cheese, and make the gravy, warm up the bread. The turkey still has 9 minutes left before I take the aluminum foil off, and then we'll let it cook for 1 more hour, which will put us right about 3 o'clock, 3:30. And then I can put this stuff in there. My oven is not big enough to do a turkey plus all of the sides. So I really have to wait till that turkey comes out before I can put the sides in. Dinner is probably looking about 4:30 or 5 o'clock. But that's okay, it's fine. So I do have a sink full of dishes with all the bowls we just used. Let me go ahead and get caught up on some dishes while we wait for that turkey. Take the aluminum foil off. And as you can tell, the breast meat is really white and light, but the legs are dark. Now that we got the aluminum foil off, it's all going to get nice and dark. 1 hour. Then we'll take the temperature, see if it's ready. Timeline check-in. It is 3:19. The turkey is done. It's beautifully brown. I did check the temperature of the breast and it's reading 180 degrees. I checked the leg plus the thigh and they're reading well over 200 degrees. This turkey is done. It's beautiful. It's absolutely gorgeous. I'm going to leave it on the stove until it cools off about 15, 20 minutes. Then I'll take it out, put it on a cutting board, and let it cool for another 30 minutes before we start carving it. We already have all the sides in the oven. I moved the racks up 1 time. So on the top shelf, I have the green bean casserole and the stuffing. Underneath, I have the carrots and the sweet potato casserole. I'm going to leave it in there for about 30 minutes. I'm going to give everything a nice toss. If the carrots are done, we'll take them out. If they're not done, we'll put everything back in there and let it cook for another 30 minutes. In about 30 minutes, I'm going to go ahead and get the potatoes, start cooking. I've already cooked the macaroni for the macaroni and cheese, but in 30 minutes, we're going to cook the potatoes, make the cheese sauce, and about 45 minutes, 15 minutes before we're ready to sit down and eat, I'm going to make the gravy and heat up those dinner rolls. We're very close. We're super close. We're exactly 40 minutes from having dinner. I took the turkey out of this pan, put it on another baking sheet while I washed this pan. I did save all the turkey juices and I defatted it. I removed all of the fat. There's only a small little layer of fat on here. I did save about 1/3 of a cup of that turkey fat. That's the fat we're going to be using to make a roux for our gravy. Turkey is just going to sit right here, but now we need to start working on our sides. I have the potatoes on the stove in clean cold water coming up to a boil. Let's check the stuffing. I want to give this a little toss, just so everything is cooking evenly. All right, this is going to go back in the oven, uncovered. Let's give our carrots a little toss. All right, I'm going to put the carrots back in the oven. Sweet potato casserole. All right, so this is going to go back in the oven. I'm not ready for the marshmallows yet because we still got to cook those potatoes for the mashed potatoes. I'm going to put the cover back on. And the green bean casserole. And we'll go ahead and put the rest of the onion crisp on the top. And this is going to go back in the oven. So I have the potatoes over here. Need them to come up to a boil and cook those potatoes. In this pan, we're going to start our macaroni and cheese sauce. Oops, I got to set the timer for 30 more minutes for the things in the oven. So I have about 2 tablespoons of butter. I'm going to add a pinch of salt, a pinch of pepper, and I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of flour. I don't know if I told you, but we're making the cheese sauce for the macaroni and cheese. I'm just going to cook that for about 1 minute. I have a 1/2 cup of milk. I'm going to let the milk heat up. It'll activate that roux, and then we can add our cheese. I have 2 cups of pepper jack cheese, and this is Parmesan cheese as a 1 cup measure. We're only going to need about 1/2 of it. potatoes are coming up to a boil. And when you're making a milk with roux, a fat and a flour, this is actually called a bechamel. All right, so we're going to add the pepper jack cheese. Yes, it's going to be super, super cheesy. But that's how Liam likes it. Turn my burner down just a bit. Might just need a tad bit more milk. Maybe another 1/4 cup of milk. And now I'm going to add a 1/2 cup of Parmesan cheese. And after the cheese melts, we're going to taste it for salt and pepper. And if it's perfect, we can add our pasta. Let's taste the cheese sauce. Oh, family, it's perfect. So this time I have 5 ounces of shell pasta cooked according to the directions. And I had it sitting in cold water just to stop the cooking. All right, we're going to give that a toss. Perfect. Burner off. I have a lot of heat coming out of the oven right here. It comes out of this spot. I am just going to put the macaroni and cheese right there, and it will stay nice and hot. Potatoes are not ready yet. We are in the home stretch, family. Barbara just texted me and said that they're on their way. They'll be here in about 15-20 minutes. Dinner should be ready in about 20 to 30 minutes. So they can wait. It's okay. Still have to carve the turkey and make the gravy and finish those mashed potatoes. So the potatoes are fork tender. I've already drained all the water. I'm going to add about a 1/2 cup of butter. Probably need more. A little bit of pepper. And a little bit of salt. All right, we're going to start beating this up and then adding milk. Do you want to taste it for butter, salt, and pepper? Needs a lot of pepper and a whole lot of salt. So I have about a cup of milk in here already. I'm going to add maybe another 1/4 cup of milk. Oh, perfect. perfect. One side is complete. We can take the carrots out. Two sides are done. Green bean casserole can come out. Stuffing can come out. Now we can finish the sweet potato casserole. So I had the bag of marshmallows that was on the shopping list. Move that around a bit. I'm going to turn the oven off. I'm going to put this back in the oven. The residual heat will melt that perfect. The gravy. Burner on. So in this pot, I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of this turkey fat. And I'm going to add about 1.5 tablespoons of flour, a pinch of salt, a pinch of pepper. And the family's here, by the way. I don't know if you can hear it in the background, but it's okay. We're just going to cook that for a few minutes, about a minute or 2, just to cook the raw flavor out of that flour. Then we can build our gravy. Well, hi, Liam. How are you? You ready for Thanksgiving dinner?
Yep.
I know what you're waiting on.
The mac and cheese.
Hi, Barbara. How are you? All right, back to the gravy. So this is the drippings from cooking that turkey. We're only going to need about 1 cup to 1.5 cups. But we're going to go really slow. All right, so we're just going to let that broth heat up, and it's going to activate the roux, and then we'll have delicious gravy. We'll taste it for any other seasonings. Everything is done. Now we're just going to carve this turkey. So I'm just going to cut right here where the drumstick meets the breast meat. You're going to find a keel bone right here. And I'm going to remove the breast from the turkey. If it's hot, just grab a towel to assist. Oh, that is beautiful. And then we're going to cut sideways until we meet the one that was going horizontal. Perfect. So I'm going to move this turkey out of our way, and now we're just going to slice it right here on this plate. The dinner rolls, I just put them on a pan, stuck them in the oven. The heat is off on the oven, but the residual heat in there warmed them up perfect. We have our compound butter for the dinner rolls. We have everything ready, and the time is 4:32. Dinner is ready. I said 4, but we went to 4:32. Now, we could cut a lot of this time off of our meal day if we would have done some of this yesterday, and that is cook the pumpkin pie, season the turkey, put it back in the refrigerator. We could have cooked the sweet potatoes. They could have cooled off on the counter. Once they cooled off, we could put those in the refrigerator. We can peel our white potatoes, have that soaking in some cold water in the refrigerator. We could have made the compound butter the day before. We could have made the carrots, not cook them, but put the glaze on it, stuck that in the refrigerator. There's a lot of things we could have done yesterday, and it would have cut our cooking time today, but we did it all today, and I'm so proud of us. If you don't mind, give this video a thumbs up. While you're at it, please go ahead and subscribe. I will love to have you part of the Grammy family. Out of everything we made today, what is your favorite sides? I will tell you in the next video what my favorite side is. So tell me what your favorite side dish, and tell me what you think my favorite side dish is. So until next time, you have a blessed day. Who's hungry?